Alright, Spanish 1. Today we are going to talk about las palabras interrogativas. This is a fancy way of saying interrogative words. If you interrogate someone, typically you are asking them a lot of questions. So, interrogative words then are the ones you use to ask someone questions. So you might also call this presentation question words. Before we begin, I simply must do an acknowledgement. Many thanks to Mr. Duggan of St. John's High School in Massachusetts for creating this awesome PowerPoint and allowing other teachers to download and use it. I cannot take credit for this fantastic PowerPoint. If you want to see others just like it, then please feel free to follow the link below and go and see some of his other good stuff. Las palabras interrogativas. We are already familiar with several words used for asking information questions. For example, ¿cómo estás? Meaning how are you? And ¿de dónde eres? Meaning where are you from? Also, ¿quién es ella? Who is she? There are many interrogative words in Spanish. These are all the ones that you will be learning today. You have ¿qué?, ¿quién?, ¿quiénes?, ¿cuál?, ¿cuáles?, ¿cómo?, ¿cuándo?, cuánto, which can also be cuánta, cuántos, or cuántas, and dónde and por qué. Pero ¿qué significan? What do they mean? ¿Qué means what? ¿Quién and quiénes both mean who. ¿Cuál and cuáles both mean which one or which ones. ¿Cómo means how. ¿Cuándo means when. ¿Cuánto or cuánta, cuántos, or cuántas mean how much or how many. ¿Dónde is where, and por qué is why. Okay, now for some example sentences. Por ejemplo, ¿cuál es tu mochila? Which one is your backpack? ¿Cuáles son tus libros? Which ones are your books? So cuál would be the singular when you were only speaking of one thing, for example, backpack. And cuáles would be the plural for when you're speaking of more than one thing. For example, in this case, libros. Más ejemplos. ¿Quién es de Argentina? Who is from Argentina? ¿Quiénes son ellos? Who are they? Like cuál, quién and quiénes can be singular or plural. Quién is when you're asking about one person, and quiénes is for when you are asking about more than one person. Más ejemplos. ¿Cuánta tarea hay en la clase de español? How much homework is there in Spanish class? ¿Cuántos estudiantes hay en la clase? How many students are in the class? When you see cuánta or cuánto, that means how much. When you see cuántos or cuántas, that means how many. Más ejemplos. ¿Por qué estudias hoy? Why are you studying today? Estudio porque tengo un examen. I'm studying because I have a test. You will notice in these examples that por qué can mean why, but it can also mean because. When you see por qué as two words, and there is an accent mark on the end of the E, as in this example here, then that definitely means why. When you see por qué as one word, no accent mark on the E, that always means because. Más ejemplos. ¿Cuándo es el concierto de rock? When is the rock concert? ¿Qué es esto? What is this? You've heard me ask that in class many times. ¿Dónde están mis libros? Where are my books? Okay, so to review, the question words or the palabras interrogativas are ¿qué?, ¿quién?, ¿quiénes?, ¿cuál?, cuáles, cómo, cuándo, cuánto, dónde y por qué. Tengo una pregunta. There are several ways to ask a question in Spanish besides using question-asking words. One way is to simply place the subject after the verb and change the inflection of your voice. For example, Carlos está en la biblioteca. Carlos is the subject, está is the verb. You can reverse the subject and the verb and say, ¿Está Carlos en la biblioteca? Is Carlos in the library? Tengo otra pregunta. Sometimes the written question marks and the rising tone of the speaker's voice alone may indicate the difference between a statement and a question. Okay, so the first statement is just a statement. Hay una fiesta en el colegio mañana. There's a party at the school tomorrow. Or the question would be, ¿Hay una fiesta en el colegio mañana? The words are the same. You'll notice in the written sentence that there is an upside down question mark at the beginning and a normal one at the end. But you can hear in my voice when I say it which one is the statement and which one is the question. Tengo otra pregunta. Sometimes you can add a tag word such as no or verdad to the end of a sentence, much as you might add right or don't you, etc. in English. Same question as before. Hay una fiesta en el colegio hoy, ¿verdad? There's a party at school today, right? Pedro está enfermo, no? Pedro is sick, isn't he? Y una pregunta más. When forming information questions with any of the interrogative words, como, cuál, etc., the verb precedes the subject, just as in English. Okay, so the verb will go before the subject. ¿Cuándo es el concierto de rock? Okay, so in this particular sentence, es is the verb, is, and concierto de rock is the subject. When is the rock concert? We do the same thing in English. When is, there's your verb. The rock concert, there's your subject. So verb first, subject second. Whereas in a declarative sentence, like the second example, el concierto de rock es el lunes, the subject goes first. El concierto de rock, the rock concert. Es, the verb, goes second. Is. Y aún una pregunta más. The interrogative words may be used alone or in combination with various prepositions. For example, ¿de dónde es él? Which means, where is he from? The de being the from. Él es de Chile. He is from Chile. Sometimes you can find a at the beginning of an interrogative word. ¿A qué hora es la fiesta? At what time is the party? La fiesta es a las 9 de la noche. The party is at 9. Preguntas y respuestas. When answering questions, pay attention to the verb form. The verb form and the answer will be based on the questions. If the question is asked of you, then the answer will be in the I form. If the question asks about him, then the answer is also about him, etc. Every sentence or answer must have both a subject and a verb. To give you some way of thinking of this, you have a lovely little chart here. On the left, you have the subject of the question, and on the right, you have what the subject of the answer will be. So, if in the question, the subject is yo, then the answer will come back in the form of tú or usted. If in the question that the subject is tú, then the answer will come back in the form of yo. If in the question if in the question the subject is él or ella, then the answer you reply with will also have él or ella as the subject. In the question, if the subject is usted, the answer will come back in the form of yo. If the question is nosotros, then the answer will either come back as ustedes or nosotros. If the question comes in the form of vosotros, then the answer will come back in the form of nosotros. If the question is ellos or ellas for the subject, then the answer will also have ellos or ellas for the subject. And last but not least, if the subject of the question is ustedes, then the answer will come back in the form of nosotros. This is not something you have to memorize right away, but it is definitely something that will make common sense to you and will come much more easily as we begin to really use these in class. Okay, so here are some good examples of questions that you can take a look at. ¿Estudias mucho en la escuela? ¿A qué hora tienes el almuerzo hoy? ¿Hay mucha tarea en la clase de inglés? ¿Ellos hablan mucho en la clase? ¿Necesitamos los libros para la clase de español? ¿Camino a la escuela? ¿Vosotros bailáis mucho? ¿Usted busca un cuaderno? ¿Ustedes llevan los libros a la clase? ¿Estás en la clase de historia? Pause the video now and take some time to see if you can translate these sentences into English. Terminamos. This is all for the video. Hope you took good notes. See you in class.